The man simply waved his hand, and the missile next to him shot off. In midair, it split into several warheads, each one accurately hitting the target. This powerful weapon was designed by Tony Stark. Tony never expected that the weapon he created would almost kill him. On his way home, a missile hit their convoy, killing everyone on the team assigned to protect him. Tony immediately got out of the car and took cover behind a rock, calling for backup. At that moment, another missile landed beside him. He realized it was one of his own creations, but there was no time to escape. The blast sent him flying through the air. Anyone who's been hit by a missile knows that surviving something like this is nearly impossible. But Tony was wearing a bulletproof vest, and even though the shrapnel still pierced his body, he couldn't stop the blood from pouring out. When he woke up, a thin tube was inserted into his lung. He hadn't moved in 3 days, leaving his limbs stiff. The man standing over him was a mystery, and Tony wasn't sure if he was friend or foe. Tony carefully tried to roll over, but felt something pulling him back. He looked and saw a battery attached to his body. Panicking, he ripped off the bandages, only to discover a round metal piece embedded deep in his chest. He had no idea what was going on, so he asked the man, "What's this thing on my chest?" The man replied, "Without it, you'd be dead already." It turned out Tony's veins were filled with shrapnel, and the electromagnet in his chest was preventing the shrapnel from reaching his heart. But that also meant he'd need the battery to stay alive for the rest of his life. At that moment, the terrorists who had captured him burst in. Their true goal was to force Tony to build weapons for them. They took him to their arms depot and showed him all their weapons. They claimed they had every material they needed. Tony realized that all these weapons were designed by his own company, but the reason he'd created weapons in the first place was to protect peace. Now, they were in the hands of people who used them to kill. To save his own life, he pretended to agree, while secretly planning his escape. To get rid of the battery on his chest, he extracted palladium parts from a missile, melted them down, and reshaped them into a small palladium ring the size of a bracelet. He welded it onto a permanent magnet and created a small arc reactor. Although the device was no bigger than the palm of his hand, its power was enough to replace the life-saving device on his chest and would prove even more useful. Tony pulled out a stack of blueprints, and when they were stacked together, he revealed the true design. It was a suit of armor. To avoid detection, the parts had to be made separately and then assembled. As Tony was working on the pieces, the gang leader noticed something was wrong. He stormed in, demanding to know why Tony was trying to play him for a fool. The doctor explained that all the parts were from missiles, but the leader didn't buy it and decided to kill the doctor. Tony immediately stepped in and said, "If he dies, I can't make any more missiles." Though the leader spared the doctor, he demanded the missiles be delivered by the next day, or they would all die. Tony worked through the night, and after hours of forging, the armor was finally completed. By then, the gang leader checked the surveillance but didn't find them, so he sent his men to check on them. Tony had secretly placed a bomb on the door, and when the two henchmen opened it, they were blown away. Seeing this, the bald leader ordered everyone to mobilize. But Tony still needed more time to activate the suit. To buy him time, the doctor grabbed a gun and ran out. However, as soon as he turned the corner, his life was cut short. Finally, the armor startup sequence was complete. Tony, now in the suit,